Okay, so for those of you who are ready, this is kind of a little more complicated example. Call it magic die cards. It's kind of like a dice or something. Akachi's dog is here. Okay, cool. And then, so this is kind of between a die or a card, like die being singular of dice. So I'm just playing with a few different things in JavaScript. The first is that we have a class. So my class is called die. Daniel likes the questionnaire, good. And in that class, I have a constructor. This is the stuff that runs when I first create a die. And then I have some other functions. So what I want you to do is take a look at this code. And if you can figure it out, I want you to create a set of 3 dice on the screen instead of just a single one. Okay? Should be a quick change you can make to the code to go from a single die on the screen to 3. Go ahead, give it a shot. Okay, cool. Okay, so does anyone have a guess for us for how we're going to change this code to create multiple dice? AJ. Oh, Fiber.
Hey. I added new die 3 times at the end.
Jay is like, this is Jay.
Okay, Patrick, and as Patrick saying new die. Maybe that's Patrick, maybe that is Jay. Okay, so let's try that. Cool. That looks pretty good. Okay, cool. So we have a bunch of different dice now. So the problem that, there's a few things we could do with this. One thing that's annoying me a little bit, so I made this afternoon. If you want to get really advanced, you could go further, make your own like 3 model dice. There's ways to do that with making a cube. But I thought I'd try to keep it intermediate without like, losing my mind, come up with the example. So this is kind of like, it looks a little bit more like a card, but it's envisioned to be kind of like dice, okay? The idea is when I click it, it rolls. The thing is that it doesn't really do what I want. It shows a 1 dot when it's 1, but then when I click, it changes and then ends up on what changed. So what I want to do is after the click, I want to wait until it flips and show a different number, and then I want it to land on still a different number, okay? So I don't want to know I'm landing on 4 when I click. So where would I start? What do you think?
What was the last part of the question?
So when I click this, it goes from 4 to 1 right away.
Right.
But I don't want it to do that. I want it to wait until it starts animating before it becomes the new number.
Oh.
Until at least halfway through the animation.
You can do a setTimeOut.
Okay, that sounds good. So where would I do the setTimeout?
Probably where you're creating the die, create EL. There.
Okay, well that's when I create the die, but I don't create a new one every time I click.
Okay, the roll maybe?
Okay.
Not sure.
This switches the class to die rolling, okay? So in here, maybe, and like Chris mentioned something about pick value. So what's the relationship between pick value and roll? So pick value calls roll, right?
Right.
So this is this.roll. Why is it this.roll, not just roll? What's going to happen if I delete this? What will happen?
Do they all roll? You have to specify the instance.
Yeah, you need this.roll. So we're inside of a single die. So the this refers to that single die. Okay? This is not a general, these are actually functions. Even though we don't say function, even though there's no fat arrow, because they are names and they have parentheses and then curly brackets and they're inside this class, they're functions, okay? What do we call functions that are inside of a class?
Methods.
Methods. Okay. So we can call a method from inside the class by saying this die has a method called roll. Okay. Call roll right now. Okay. So when is pick value happening? Let's see. When is pick value happening? Well, right here we have this.element.addEventListener. Click, parentheses, fat arrow, pick value. What's happening on that line?
So on click, it's calling pick value, and pick value is then calling roll.
Let's go step by step. So this is the die, right? Should be back to working now. Yeah. This is the die. Then what is EL?
The element?
Well, yeah, well, tell me which element. What do you see? Where do we get that element from?
Where is it? Was created in? Is it created in
Be the div.
CSS?
It's a div. It's created line 9. Look at line 9. It's right there.
Right.
So EL is not a function. It's just a key, and the div is the value. Okay? So I can say, hey, I'm going to store this as an attribute. On this die, store something called EL. I'll point to this div. So we're creating a new div. Okay? Then we're going to add a class to it for CSS purposes. Then we're going to add addEventListener. Okay? So what are the two parameters I'm passing addEventListener here?
Like the click.
Yeah, so what is click?
Click is.
Click event.
It's an event.
Yeah, it's a type of event. Okay? It's a click event.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the event that we're going to listen for. What's the second argument?
Then you're running the function this.pickValue.
That's right, Liv. We're running a function. So first we have the event, and then we have the function, the callback, the thing that runs when the event happens. Okay? Everyone with me so far?
Yep.
Now I've done something interesting here, which I've done a fat arrow function here, so I can do one-liner. Why? What's the importance of that?
Implicit return.
It's true, it's implicit return, but if I do this, I'm gonna get an error. Oh, does that still work anyway? Let's see. Oh, it still works anyway. Darn it. Anyway, what I'm just saying here is that the this is sometimes messed up by the curly brackets not being able to find pick value. But we still have pick value running in this. So, oh, you know what? I run it here also. Ugh. Shouldn't have done that. I put it in two places. Let's try it like this. Let's see if this still works. This is, honestly, I don't know what happened. So we'll do an experiment. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. Nothing. Okay, so what's the problem?
It doesn't start with the value.
Say that again?
There's no value to begin with.
Well, it doesn't know what to run, basically, because this.pickValue is happening inside these curly brackets. So it's looking for this inside these curly brackets. And if I don't have the curly brackets, this is going to refer to the die. But if I do have the curly brackets, it gets a little bit lost. It's inside that function there, yeah. And it's trying to find this.pickValue, and nothing will happen. Now, oh, wait a minute, this is still bugging out. Oh, this is for the click, sorry. So we're still working on click, but to do it, I was confusing the listener with the first initial this.pickValue. Okay, good. So this is the one that runs when we first create it. This is the one that runs on click. Okay. So now we're picking this on click. So now we're going to run this. So the first thing that happens is roll. So what is roll? What's happening here?
This changes a class.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's saying these are all the classes. It's going to be a die, and I'll get the class rolling. Okay, so let's look in our classes. And there is something for die, so this is a lot of styling you expect. So this is true the whole time. It's going to have this much margin, it's going to have a border. I use display grid to do something that looks kind of like dice. Sorry if it's a little messy. And height 100, width 100, okay? Rolling's a little more complicated. What's happening in rolling?
Yeah, animation.
Yeah, let's try and run animation. What's the name of that animation?
WebKit animation.
Well, that's the attribute on, that's the key in the CSS. But animation is actually called rotation.
Mm-hmm.
So I call this like ASTF, and I call this ASTF, and I ran this. This is still gonna work. Okay. I got all fours for a second. Okay. So this is just saying run this animation. So rotation is not a special word in this case. It's just saying run this animation. So if this is an animation at WebKit keyframe, this is how you define WebKit animation. You can do multi-stage keyframe animations. You can say like, hey, do this at 0, do this at 50% of the way through, do this at 100% of the way through. Here I just have from and to. So what's happening here?
It's giving you like a starting point and an ending point for the animation.
Okay, and what's happening at starting point?
It's starting at 0 degrees for all of the rotate X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm. And where does it end up?
And it ends up at 359 degrees for all X, Y, and Z as well.
So what's happening here?
So that's like naming and setting like the length of time the animation is going to run.
Let's try it. Let's try 20 seconds, okay? So we're gonna run. Oh, kind of. Yeah, but it didn't run for all 20 seconds. Why not? This is tricky. It's because of something in our JavaScript file.
Oh, because of the set timeout?
Yeah, that's right. So what does set timeout do, Chris?
It's going to, well, it's basically going to, is it going to run the this.stop roll after 200 or 2000 milliseconds, 2 seconds?
That's right. So let's switch to someone else. So Tim, how do I get this? Right now it's running stop rolling after 2 seconds. I want it to stop after 20 seconds. How do I change it?
Just change it to 20,000.
Okay, let's give it a shot. So let's say that I wanted this to rotate for only 2 seconds. So I'm going to go back to only 2 here. But I want this to go fast. In fact, twice as fast as it did before. What would I do with my CSS?
One second.
1 second. That sounds good. Okay, cool. What's going to happen if I don't do that set timeout? I comment out this line. what's going to happen?
Just keep going.
Why?
There's no delay.
Say that again?
There's no delay.
Yeah, there's like in the style here, I said infinite, right?
Right.
Okay. I think that's pretty good. What's wrong? Okay. This brings us back to right now, when I change it, it goes from 6 to 1. I see the 1 way too soon. Okay? So now that we've been through a little bit of functionality, let's see what it does next. It's saying, okay, after you roll, you set the value, math.ceiling 6 times math.random. So for those of you who stuck around from the previous class, Daniel, what's that doing? What's line 25 doing?
So it's so the value equals the math of, so it's maximum height, so it's the ceiling of the number, so top of the number, for 6 times math random, so the highest random number it can get from the value.
Okay, so we're saying take a random number between 0 and 1, multiply by 6, so we'll get a random number between 0 and 6, and then math.ceil, round up. Okay, so this will be 1 through 6. This value is 1 through 6. Then we're going to run update content. Okay, so in update content, it'll say this.el.innerText equals empty string. So what's happening there? Remember, this.el was a div before. It's still a div now. So we're going to empty it, okay? It's saying that empty. Thanks, Peter, bye. So we have an empty div, and then we run this for loop. So what's the for loop doing? Patrick, what do you think that for loop's doing?
Well, it looks like it's going through every value less than whatever you call, you set the this.value that you saw in the previous function, the pick value function.
Yeah,
And
so if this.value, so this.value is 3, how many times will this for loop run?
so it'll be 2 times.
3 times.
Well, 3 times, 0, 1, 2, yeah.
Yeah, 0, 1, 2. So for loop is to run a certain number of times. We're going to run 3 times, okay? So this is just going to say, hey, I'm running 3 times. So what will it do 3 times, Patrick?
So right there it's creating a new variable, a new div, and it's assigning a class of dot to that div.
Let's take a look at that.
And
So
then it's
dot
appending
right here,
it. Yeah.
10 pixels by 10 pixels.
Basically a circle.
Round, black. So yeah, I think this.
Yeah.
Giving us the dots. Okay.
And then it's appending it to the original div, which is the this.el.
Okay. So this is putting the dots on the page here. That's when we're updating our content. Okay. So if we're selecting the value here and we update the look here, how can we get it so that we update the look later? The value is 3, Katya, because we assigned the value here to be a random number between 1 and 6. So I was just using 3 as an example. And then here we do a for loop where we say go 0, 1, 2, stop when you get to this value. Okay?
Can you change where the update content? Can you put that after the timeout?
Well, how do you do it after the timeout?
Just put it in like in the function, but just after. Will that work? I don't know how setTimeOut works out very well.
Can you just add a set timeout to that?
Yeah, we could add set timeout here. Okay. So let's do set timeout just like the other one. So set timeout. Okay. And then set timeout, what we do right there?
The fair arrow function.
Yeah, fair arrow function. Here our scope here. Let me put a parenthesis. That might be fine just like that. Do I have another parenthesis there? I think I do. I think I have a parenthesis right here.
In the beginning.
Okay, cool. And then let's do it after, you want to say wait 2 seconds also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So we got a problem.
You need to add another parenthesis after update content.
I think we messed up the parenthesis there.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good. Okay, so this one's going to parenthesis there. Let's run that. Okay. The change is right at the end. What if I wanted to be like on the flips? I wanted to change like every flip. What do you think?
Take 1 second.
Try after 1 second. Okay, so halfway through. So that kind of makes sense. But Fiber, what do you think? What if we wanted to change it every time we flipped it around? So right now we have it, how many times does it flip when I flip? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So we want to change on every flip.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Is it possible to add the update content to the line 28, like that both should take the same time?
So you can do that. The annoying thing is we might mess up our scope. So let's give it a shot. We're gonna say, hey, we're gonna say our function is going to be curly brackets, curly brackets. I think this is kind of mess this up. We'll give it a shot. Yeah, it works. Cool. That works. Could move by fiber there. Okay. But the problem remains that it's still changing at the last second. So I think that would normally be fine if we did want to change just at the end right there. But let me make sure I still run this. I want to change every time it flips. Right now it's changing halfway through. So how we change on every flip?
How many times does it flip? Just divide the time between the flips and that's it, right?
Yeah, I think that's pretty close. So let's say like, so we can flip it 3 times and come up with, so a few problems here. So if I do this, that won't change anything, right? So to make it actually run update content 3 times, what are the 3 times I should run it at?
But you need to calculate the value again on each update content, right?
Okay, so let's try 500, 1000, 1500. think those are the right times to change, but the problem is it's always the same number, right?
What about a percentage of the total duration?
Well, that's what I have in the duration here. That's the idea between 500, 1000, 1500. But I'm updating with the same value. See, I'm doing the value up here.
Can you add this.value to the update content function?
Okay, so let's try moving this. Let's give that a shot, Patrick. So I'm going to move it from here. And I'm going to put it in here. We almost have it. Take a look at that. Let's slow it down to make it a little bit easier. So I'm going to say instead of the 1 second rotation, we'll do 2 second rotation. Yeah, they're supposed to be dice, but they end up more like cards, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Maybe it gives us the thumbs up. Okay. Okay, so what I want you to give a shot to right now, basically, we were able to do this right here. Dog rented there. The dog likes it. That's good. Okay, cool. So what I want to do next is I want to be able to report on the screen what the sum is of all the dice. Okay. So I want to show on the screen, if I roll all 3 dice, I want to, when it finishes rolling, I want to show the updated total on the screen. So try 2 to 5 minutes on your own, try to do that. Then we're gonna come back and figure that out.
You just can count the...
Yeah, Fiverr, we're gonna try on our own first. Try on our own first. Oh.
He's so excited.
Okay, does anyone have any ideas?
So you have to, basically you're just adding the values of your different dice. So we have like 3 dice, right? I'm just trying to figure out how to grab all of those. Is there a way to is there a built-in method to grab like the children of the page?
Would
Like
it
the
just
child
be-
elements?
It's an interesting idea, but we're dealing with the JavaScript also. Let's try something. Let's put like first let's make somewhere to put this information, okay? So I'm gonna make a headline. Let's say ID equals sum. Okay. So now we have somewhere to put it.
So where the value would be, could you just, first you gotta do the get document by ID for your sum?
Okay, so document dot.
Probably an update, can you get an update content? Because that's where you have to add the value.
Okay, so an update content, we could do something there. Could update something from there. So maybe, I was thinking of doing this the other way around. We could do this so we could say like, hey, the tricky thing is how to know which die it is, you know?
Oh, and I just did it in REPL and I had, at the bottom, I just console logged it, but I said, right after line 38, I said, this dot value equals this dot value plus this dot value. And I got the right at line 30, after line 39. I just console logged it.
You're grabbing the sum, and then down here, you're saying that like, let's say sum equals that, sum dot inner text equals this dot value plus this dot value plus this dot value.
Yeah.
This is interesting. Let's try this. For some reason, we didn't get. Oh, wait, what did I mess up here? Seem to have lost. This get element by ID sum. Let's do this. Yeah, this runs. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, there we go. So this is interesting. So Katya, I think this is good, but we're still a little off, right? We got 3 and it's 2, 1, 1. So what should the answer be?
4.
Yeah, so this time it's right. This time it's wrong. So what's it doing?
Adding the first value. Is it?
Yeah, it's taking the value of this die and multiplying it by 3, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you think? How can we get around this? I wonder if we could just say, hey, do something like this. That's not quite right. I mean, I think we have to get outside this function maybe. What if we said this? What if we said, hey, we're going to wait for this event? So what's the event that's happening here?
Waiting on the update content, right? To get the
Yeah,
new
we're doing
values.
some kind of, we're running update content, but that's not quite the event, right? That's a function side here. Let's start with this. Let's start with like die1 equals this one. Die2 equals this one. Die3 equals this one. Okay. So I'm going to give you a wrong answer that kind of gets us a little further. Set timeout. After 20 seconds, we are going to say that document inner text is going to be die1 plus, or rather, the h1's inner text is going to equal die1 plus die2 plus die3. Okay, let's give this a shot. You know, should have done fewer than 20 seconds. 20 seconds is a lot. Let's try it after 5 seconds. And let's say, and save that for these guys. I'll just put in .value. All right, so here a game came through, object. I've given away the answer right here. I'm going to switch this to value. 3, 4, 5, 11. Okay, so that looks pretty good. But the problem is it's happening just 5 seconds later. What is the event?
Click.
Click. What's being clicked?
Can you not set it on the stop roll to then calculate?
We could. The problem is each die doesn't really know about the others. Yeah. So that's a little bit of an issue there. So if like on the stop rule, we said, hey, increase it by 6 or decrease it by 6. It gets messy really fast because you say like, okay, what should it start as? You know, well, whatever the other two are. Well, how do I know the other two? So we have in HTML this marked as page. So we could say document dot get by ID page. Okay. Then dot addEventListener click, and then okay, so let's, this is all on one line, but it looks a little messy. Let's try to curly bracket, next line directly. I guess that's just kind of how it looks. Value. I'm gonna mess up some syntax here. That get element by ID page. addEventListener, first argument is click. The second argument is going to be the function. Remove the 5,000. Ah, that's true. We don't need that anymore. Okay. So this is our function here. Still having a problem here.
Is it, do you want it to be on page? Because that's like anytime you click the page.
You know, I'm just closing the parentheses at the wrong time. Well, it won't be anytime someone clicks the page,
They'll all run.
Happen. So it's going to say document, get element by ID, addEventListener click, and someone clicks, do the following function. That function.
Next to a curly bracket.
Curly bracket right there after the arrow.
Okay, open it up. There we go. We're matching now. Okay, cool. So this is only going to happen now on the click. So 8, 6, 14. We're having trouble here though.
Oh, I think it's working. It's just, is it delayed?
I think it's early actually, right?
It's happening before like the set timeout, where there is no set timeout on it.
So I liked what you guys were saying before. Let's go back to what Katya and someone else were saying, that what we could do is we could call this from somewhere. So let's say that we say like, hey, this function is going to be called like report sum, okay, and then report sum is going to be called at the end of update content, right, where Katya has, I think it was Katya as before, report sum, okay, and yeah, let's try that. I have a messed up paragraph or something here. Report sum at the report sum.
Is at the end of report sum, do you still need that parentheses?
Oh, wait, that's, yeah, I think that is a good call. Let's try that. Pretty good, guys. Okay, so let's say that I wanted to only update report sum, only run this if it's the last update, if it's the last update content. How would I do that?
Instead of with each roll?
Yeah, because right now we're saying, hey, your score is 7. No, it's 6. No, it's, okay, it is 6. It's 7. No, it's 8. No, it's 9. I just want to do the last roll. How would I do that?
Would you just move report sum to line 42?
Okay, so Cynthia, sorry, I got you confused with Kaji there, sorry. So
Right.
Cynthia's the one who helped us out before. Okay, sorry, go ahead, say it again, Cynthia.
So you just take call report sum on line 42 instead of 40?
That's interesting. So I think that's just inside the class. I think you have the right idea, but I'm not sure it's the right line number here. So let's try this. No, that's not going to do it for us. So there, you're outside of update content, actually.
Oh, okay. All
But
right.
I like the idea that we need to remove or running report sum.
You utilize setTimeOut on the report sum there?
So we could try what we were doing before. We said like, hey, no, I might have screwed up there.
What about checking the name of the classes? So when the classes are not like spinning, do the zoom.
Say that again, Fiber?
Yeah, like every guy change his class name when it's spinning, right? When it's rotating.
Yeah.
So check if none of the dice has that class name, then you can calculate the sum.
I think we already got it here, actually. Uh-oh, but it's not changing at all there, is it? Oh, no, it's changing, yeah. Then we got this, right? Let's do a sum. So like 3, 9, 4, 13. 2, 4, 1. Yeah, that looks pretty good to me. Questions on this? Okay, let's talk a little bit about the CSS for a second. So, in my messy CSS here, why are the dots, if we're just appending those dots, and this is all the CSS and the dots, height, width, border radius, background, why are they in this formation? What's making that happen, this CSS?
You have a display grid.
The grid.
Yeah, display grid, that's right, Cynthia. So, display grid, and then how am I saying the columns on display grid? How many columns do I have?
You got 2.
2.
2. How many rows?
Auto.
Okay. So that's why it's showing in the middle here and not here. Okay. So how am I making? Okay. So what would you guys do if, let's say, having seen this example, you were going to make a card in native JavaScript that could be flipped over from one side to the other. Okay. What would be your basic approach? What do you think, Chris?
If I was gonna make a card,
Yeah.
a card that's gonna flip over.
Yeah.
Well, I'd have like a face side and then like the back side that you can switch back and forth through. And then you can use
Yeah, but you can try something pretty similar to this, maybe with 2 items, maybe a different Z index. Okay? And you flip one side over the other. Seems like flipping a coin or something like that.
Right.
Okay. So that's pretty much all I have on this example, guys. You guys got through a few minutes faster than I planned, but I think that was pretty good. Does anyone have any questions on CSS or JavaScript in this part?
What do
You
you-
come up with a styling solution, by the way, that arranges the dots better. I'd love to see that. Go ahead. Is that a question, Chris?
So utilizing WebKit animations and keyframes, why is WebKit what you use here versus like
WebKit is just the prefix for this animation, but it's just like pointing us to a particular like web driver used in some browsers, and I just ended up using WebKit keyframes. I think that like the WebKit animation, WebKit keyframes, you see them in a lot of examples online. Because that particular driver WebKit like was first to use all the animations. Whenever you see this like dash whatever, that means it's like, okay, it's not all browsers here. You can see on the highlight it tells me Safari and Chrome will run this. Presumably like Opera and Edge will not.
Okay.
So a lot of time if you put in something like WebKit animation, you're probably gonna have to put in some other like dash animation under it. You'll often see like these blocks of code in animation samples. I just figured that WebKit animation would be fine for you guys because you're probably all using Chrome or Safari.
Okay.
If you're on Firefox and this worked or didn't work, let me know. You might be using a different driver. Is anyone on Firefox? Javier, you use Firefox?
Firefox? Yeah, I use it.
I was saying Javier, not Fiverr.
I don't use Firefox.
Sorry, Fiverr. But did this example work for anyone on Firefox? No? Yeah? Well, Fiverr, since you mentioned, did it work for you today on Firefox? Okay, cool.
Now
Yeah.
you scared him.
Yeah, I scared him. Sorry, Fiverr. So whenever you see that dash, WebKit dash, that means like, hey, this set of browsers. So, you know, you'll often see several in a row that have like, for this browser, do this, for this browser, do that. All the animations are slowly converging. So that'll be a thing of the past soon. And you'll see lots of different ways to animate things. You can use transition property. You can see the keyframe animation is done with like percentages or seconds. There's a lot of different ways to do it. Here I said infinite to make it adaptable, but I could have done that with time also. You can make it use different patterns and stuff like that. Okay, so wrapping up, Nico has a survey for you guys to fill out about the class today. We love your feedback. We are doing a full stack course starting May 18th. The first week is free. We start with Ruby scripting that first week. So if you want to do that, reserve your spot by emailing Nico.
I'll send an email.
That's an online intensive course, like 9 to 4:30 every day. And then we're going to do another event next week on Thursday, same time, 3 o'clock for the intro JavaScript, 4 o'clock the intermediate JavaScript. Feel free to share with friends. They just have to email Nico to get the passwords. So I'm getting Zoom bombers. I think we're still getting a pretty good turnout even with the password. And thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this. This is fantastic.
Thank you.